Good afternoon, everybody. I am Serge Haranian, and I'm here with my colleague, Vadim-Jelezniakov. We are both software development managers on the AWS billing team. We are primarily responsible for all the tools that we provide to help you understand your AWS bill. Okay, technical difficulties. Clicker's not working, okay. Our agenda for today is to take you through the 5 levels of visibility we provide into your bill. I'm going to walk you through the new billing console, which we launched earlier today. And Vadim is going to walk you through the 4 different billing reports that we provide. The reason we have so many different levels of visibility into your reports is because AWS customers range wildly from individual developers to large enterprises. So we try to give you different views of your bill so that you can understand. At the end of the 2 sessions, we're going to hold the Q&A, so please hold your questions till the end. The billing console. So we launched the billing console earlier today, as I said. Customers have always been asking for increased visibility into their AWS spend, as well as increased accessibility. So the logical first step for us was to bring your billing and account information closer into the UI that's used most to manage your AWS resources, and that's the AWS Management Console. With the move, we've made the UI more responsive, added some new features, and gave it a new look. To access the billing console, you just hover over your name in the top right corner and select the new billing and cost management link. The first view we drop you on for the billing console is the dashboard. The dashboard gives you information such as how much you're spending on your current month and how it's trending as compared to previous months. We also give you a visual representation of your top 4 products that you've spent the most on in the current month, as well as a new notification center that gives you important information about your account or your bill. I'm going to go into each of these sections individually. For your current month spend, a lot of customers have asked for easier ways on how to see how their spend is trending as compared to previous months. So we've added a spend bar. The spend bar lets you include or exclude subscription charges, such as reserved instances. Reserved instance pricing can change month to month because you sort of buy them when you need them. So you may want to exclude it from the comparison or even include it. And you can do that just by the checkbox. AWS offers over 30 services today. So instead of calling out all 30 in this visualization, we just call out the top 4 which you have spent the most money on in the current month. And we group all other services that you've used less of just as other services so that you can get a complete picture of what's going on. As I said, in the notification center, you can see things such as issues with your payment instrument. Maybe it's expired. You can see if you have any charges that are outstanding that need to be settled. And then you can also see the status of your billing alerts. Billing alerts is something we launched last year during reInvent. It allows you to set spending thresholds by creating CloudWatch alarms that watch the total of your bill or by product, or even the total spent by a linked account, and sends you an SNS notification. Outside of billing alerts, we'll also use this section for general messages, such as like free tier eligibility or anything else we want to communicate to you. AWS has customers in over 190 countries, so we've fully localized the new billing console in 8 languages. And for those of you that like to check how your spend is trending as compared to previous months, we've made sure the dashboard looks great on mobile devices. So drilling down a bit into your bill, you probably spend most of your time analyzing your bill. By clicking on the bill section, you'll get to see your current bill as well as past bills. You'll have the ability to download invoice PDFs from this page, as well as the monthly report. The monthly report is our simplest report. Vadim is going to get into this into more detail in his section. But basically, the monthly report includes the same granularity and aggregation as what you see on the bills page. If you're a consolidated billing customer and you're logged into the payer account, you'll see a bill details by account section on this page. By clicking that, you can get a view of how your linked accounts are spending. As you can see here, I've named my linked accounts by department name so that I can track spend by department. And I can further drill down into which products each individual linked account is spending on. And I can also further drill down into cost per region, instance type, etc. For those of you that are unfamiliar with consolidated billing, it allows you to receive a single bill for charges incurred across not just your account, but other accounts as well. By linking other accounts to your account, it turns your bill into a payer bill, and you'll receive a single bill for all charges. In addition to just getting the simplicity of having a single bill for multiple accounts, you also get benefits such as sharing RI discounts across accounts. For example, if linked account 1 purchases an RI, but they don't use it for some reason, if linked account 2 is running the same instance type, they would get the benefit of that RI discount. Besides shared RI discounts, you also get combined tiering benefits. That means the data transfer usage as well as storage usage amounts will be collectively tiered, and you receive discounts on that additional tier. The new billing console also provides a new view to viewing your existing linked accounts, managing them, such as removing them or sending additional linked account requests. For payment, we've added a new payment history page. The payment history page lists all successful transactions made on your account. This includes both charges and refunds. All charges and refunds on this page would exactly match your credit card statement. So you no longer have to fumble to see which credit card charges match your AWS charges. They should match one-to-one. It also gives you a central place to view and download all invoice PDFs in one place. You should simply click the invoice ID with each payment transaction, and you can download the PDF. The payment history page also clearly calls out amounts that you have past due. And for invoice customers, it'll even call out amounts that are due, which means you have a payment due, but you're still within your agreed net terms. It also calls out any outstanding credits that you have on your account. So for those of you who are paying by invoicing, you should know that all credits received need to be applied for future charges on your account. They're not automatically applied. So any credits that you have available that you haven't applied to your account yet, they would be visible on this page. For credit card customers that do have past due charges, we've added a simple Pay Now button, which takes you through a checkout experience. In this checkout experience, you have the option. You should probably verify your credit card data because there was probably something wrong with it in the first place. That's why your payment failed. So on this page, you can update your expiration date if you received a new card, update the name on the card if that's incorrect for some reason, or even add a new card on the fly in order to settle your payment. Next section I want to get into is billing preferences. On the billing preferences page, you have a number of configurable preferences. First one being you can elect to have your invoice PDF attached to your monthly statement email that we send out. By default, you don't get the PDF attached. You just get a statement. Next one is the enablement of billing alerts, which I mentioned earlier. By enabling this, we publish your billing data to CloudWatch, where you can then create alarms on thresholds on various dimensions on your bill, such as total bill amount by linked account, or even by product. So if you want to know if your S3 usage exceeds a certain amount, or if your EC2 usage specifically exceeds a certain amount, you can do that. The section I'm going to focus on most is the billing reports. On the billing reports page, we ask you to supply an S3 bucket. This S3 bucket is where we will be delivering your reports. It's important to set the appropriate policies on this bucket because we don't write to underly or overly permissive buckets. So we provide a sample policy generator for you, and by clicking that, you'll see the sample policy based on the bucket name specified. This policy basically gives our reporting engine to do two things. One, view and confirm the permissions on your bucket to make sure it has the appropriate permissions. And it also allows our reporting engine to write to that bucket. As I said, we won't write to overly permissive buckets, so it's important to use this. We don't want to write to a bucket that potentially other customers have access to and gain access to your data. So we only write to buckets with the appropriate permissions. After creating a bucket and applying the policy, once you enter it into the interface and click Verify, it'll tell you whether it's valid or invalid. This is an example of what it looks like if you provide an invalid bucket name. And this is an example when you've successfully added a correct bucket with the appropriate policies. Once you supply the bucket, you can configure which billing reports that you want delivered. Here I've selected them all, but you can just choose based on your needs. These are the different billing reports that we offer today. I'm not going to get into each of them. Vadim will do a deep dive into each one. But I just wanted to call out the bottom two reports, which are the cost allocation report and the detailed billing report with resources as tags. Because those two reports will include tags associated with your resources, but that have also been elected by you to be included in your report. You can elect which tags to include or exclude from your billing reports by clicking the Manage Report Tags on the screen. The Manage Report Tags brings up our Cost Allocation Tag Manager. Basically, this interface allows you to filter through your tags by name, and then also enables you to select whether they should be included or excluded from your billing report. Again, important thing to remember is by tagging a resource via EC2 or S3 or any API interface, it doesn't necessarily mean it will be included in your billing report. You actually have to come into this interface and elect that those tags be included in your billing report as well. So, to find your reports, they're all located in the Amazon S3 bucket that you supplied. Each report is preceded by your account ID, followed by the report description and a year and month date stamp. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Vadim to take you through all the detailed billing reports. Thanks.
Thanks, Serge. Good afternoon. So how many of you like spending more on AWS infrastructure? Really, we should talk. Basically, we like to spend less on our infrastructure. And that's what billing reports help you do. You analyze the data in the reports, and then you can decide whether you need to provision more resources, for example, reserve capacity and lower your cost, or you're running some resources that you don't need, and you can just return them to AWS and stop paying for those. I have two goals today. One is to eliminate any sort of ambiguity around billing reports. We're going to take a look at the 4 reports that we have, and I'm going to walk you through what's inside of those reports. And the second goal is to answer some typical cost-related questions that you can get answers for by using the reports. We have 4 billing reports across 4 dimensions. We have basic data reports and advanced data reports. For each of these categories, we have hourly grain and monthly grain. Monthly report is basic data report, monthly grain. Detailed billing report, that's the report we launched last April. Cost allocation report, and detailed billing report with resources and tags. Nice long name. To walk you through these reports, I'm going to use an example of Joe. And our character here, Joe, will move from individual developer to owning a startup to being an owner of a mid-sized company, and ultimately, huge success. He'll be a CEO of a big enterprise. As an individual developer, to control his cost, Joe needs to find answers to a relatively simple set of questions. For example, he wants to know what his total monthly spend is, or what he is spending his money on, and does he really need to spend this money? And that's where the monthly report can help Joe answer these questions. Monthly report is in the common separated value format that's very easy to import into Excel or process using a script. It has monthly granularity. It's aggregated by product, for example, EC2 or S3, and it's the same data as your bill. It's just easier to consume. This is your monthly report. It looks complex, but it's not. As any other report that we have, it's a set of line items. Each line item consists of a product, EC2 or S3, usage type, optional operation, usage quantity, how much of this resource you used, your rate, and your cost. So let's take a closer look at the line item. It's basically a rate ID, an item description that tells you how much you are paying for a unit of this resource. It has product code and usage type. In this case, we have EC2 product and box usage C1 medium as a usage type. That's your instance. The operation is run instances. You also have quantity. That's in hours in this case. And you have your rate and cost. Pretty straightforward. So we're going to do a short demo. Let's see if it runs. Excellent. I'm going to take you through enabling billing reports. To enable billing reports, this is our landing page for the billing console. You just access preferences. You check the receive billing reports box. And at first, I'm going to specify a bucket that doesn't exist. So I'm going to type it in, click verify. It will tell me that this bucket name isn't valid. So now I'm going to get the sample policy. We pre-generate this sample policy for you based on your bucket name. So just copy it, go to S3 console, very straightforward, create the bucket that I'm going to use. Voila, the bucket is there. I just need to add the policy that I have in my buffer. Adding the policy, almost there. Now, if I go back to the billing console and click on Verify Bucket, success. So now I have a valid bucket name that has the policy configured that allows our team to put reports into your bucket. And I'm going to check to enable all the reports. And as the last step, I'm going to click on Manage Reports report tags, because we do not include your tags by default. This is very important. We've been receiving a lot of customer questions. We do not include tags by default. So you want to enable those tags so we know to include them. So I just chose all the tags that I had and save. So going back to the monthly report that I just mentioned, finding my demos. Downloads, okay. This guy? Excellent, okay. So the next demo, we're going to take the monthly report that I just mentioned and show how Joe can use this report to analyze his cost. Okay, so this is Joe's bucket name. That's the bucket name that he used to configure the reports. I'm going to go to S3 and download the monthly report. Save link, pretty straightforward. It's comma-separated values format. Open in Excel. I don't care about formatting, just adding a pivot table. Default settings are usually fine. Don't worry about it. Since I'm curious about the spend by product, I'm going to choose product code as the raw label and item description so I can get more insight. And for values, I'm going to choose a sum of usage quantity, basically how much of this resource I used, and the sum of cost. All done. So if you are an individual developer, you might be surprised that you have some cost associated with Asia Pacific. So if you're not running instances, or you ran instances in Asia Pacific at some point and you forgot about them, that would be your cue that you want to terminate those. Very easy. Let me switch back. OK, a couple of considerations about the monthly report. Number one, if at any moment during the months a rate changes, that will produce more line items on your report. That is because we produce line items for unique rates. For example, if AWS lowers the cost during the months, or if you purchase array instances during the months, that will produce a unique rate. And that will add to your report. By the way, this is true for all reports. So let's say Joe has been successful. He decided to hire a couple of his friends. run a couple of instances, maybe 10 or 15. And now, to save his cost, to get some insight into his cost, Joe has new questions. For example, how much am I spending hour by hour? Are my developers turning things off at night? And that's where a detailed billing report will help Joe. Detailed billing report is in the same comma-separated values format, easy to import using Excel or process using a script. It's hourly granularity. It's aggregated by product, and it has 720 or 744 more line items than monthly. Who can tell me why it's 720 or 744 more? Excellent. 720 or 744, that's the number of hours in a 30 days or 31-day months. Question? Except for February. Absolutely. So to illustrate what a detailed billing report is, just remember what the monthly report is. Basically, detailed billing report is your monthly report plus additional columns. One set of additional columns is unblended rate and unblended cost. If you have some time in the end, we'll talk about those. Another one is the usage start date and usage end date. Monthly report has these dates on a month boundary. Hourly report on an hourly boundary. You also have your reserved instance flag. This flag is set to yes if this particular line item corresponds to a reserved instance that you have. And you have your availability zone flag. So how can Joe use the detailed billing report to analyze his cost? Let's do a short demo. This is the detailed billing report. Once again, don't worry about the format. All you have to do is to add a pivot chart. Since I'm interested in the hour by hour cost, I'm going to use usage end date. That's the right boundary of the hour as an x-axis. And for my values, I'm going to use the cost. It's also useful to add product as a filter, so I can choose which product I'm interested in. Almost done. Well, that doesn't look very interesting. I probably get more information if I choose a particular date and analyze that date. So how about October 7th of this year? Opening the drop-down for the column, choosing October 7th. That looks more interesting. So it looks like after 5 p.m. UTC, by the way, all our reports are in UTC time, I started spending more. So I might ask my engineers, what was going on, guys? Why we were launching more instances during this time? Considerations for the detailed billing report. It's lots of data. It's at least 720 or 744, less for February, more line items than monthly report. So for a big customer, if you're a big customer, it becomes unwieldy for an Excel. You might use Microsoft Power Pivot or a script, or just import this data into your data warehouse. Also, since we produce both blended and unblended cost, it doesn't always correspond to your bill. That's because of differences in how we calculate the blended versus unblended cost and how we round it up. So Joe is very happy. Joe has been growing his startup. He decided to incorporate it into a company. He is running several instances, several hundred thousand instances, multiple departments. He has his department leads. His challenges are different now. He wants to be able to analyze cost by department and do chargebacks. So his department leads are responsible for managing the cost. Let me go back for a second. There are additional optional features that Joe or you would want to use to set up the structure like this. Those are consolidated billing and tagging. Consolidated billing enables you to mark one of your accounts as a payer account. It's the main account that will be responsible for all the costs associated with you running on AWS. And then you create sub-accounts, or what we call linked accounts, for your departments. You can further create additional structure so you can get some additional insight into your cost by using tags. For example, you can use a cost center tag, or you can use an application tag, or a stack tag. Testing, production, alpha, beta. So we're going to do a short demo for this part as well. It's very easy to set up consolidated billing. You start with your payer account. You log into the dashboard, to the billing dashboard, and you navigate to conveniently called Consolidated Billing menu. Sign up for Consolidated Bill. We use email addresses to identify your linked accounts. So you add your first email address. You can see that I had 2 linked accounts. The first one. What we do in the background is that we send an email to the owner of the account with a link. Once they click this link, they can approve them joining your consolidated billing family. Once both of them responded, voila, they're both under linked accounts tab. The second demo we're going to do is about tagging resources. We do have an API that enables you to tag your resources without going to the console. Today, many of AWS services support tagging. For example, EC2, S3, RDS, they all support tagging. So here, I'm just going to EC2. I have an instance running, choosing a tags tab. I already have some tags, so I'm going to add an additional tag, application tag. Create tag. If you're a company, you probably want to use an API, so it's easier for you to keep track of your resources. Unless you have plenty of time to actually go and do it manually. So all done for EC2. Now I'm going to do the same thing for S3, for my S3 bucket. This is my test bucket. I find the tags item. And just specify some key value pairs. You can tag any of your resources with up to 10 key value pairs. But once again, remember, you want to add those tags under the manage report tags menu item, so we know to pull those tags into your reports. And it's there. OK, let's go back to Joe. Joe is very happy. He set up his consolidated billing. He has his department's accounts as linked accounts under his consolidated bill. He set up his tags as well. Now he wants to analyze. He wants to get answers to those questions. What is his cost by department, and how to do chargebacks? Very straightforward. Cost allocation report is what Joe can use. Cost allocation report is the same CSV format as all other reports. It's monthly granularity. It's aggregated by product first, and then by tags. To illustrate, remember the monthly report? Cost allocation report is like the monthly report, except it has your availability zone, and it has your tags. These are the tags that you specified as the ones that you want us to pull into the report. You can see in this case, I have, I don't know if people in the back can see. Can you guys see? OK, awesome. I have user cost center, user owner, and user stack tags. Let's figure out how to do the chargebacks. This is the end result we're going to get as the result of these steps. I basically want to get a table that tells me cost center, product code, cost before tax, tax, and total cost per cost center. This is the cost allocation report. I start with a pivot table. Once again, default settings are OK. For my role labels, I'm going to use my tag, cost center, product code, and item description, so I can understand where this cost is coming from. And for my values, sum of cost before tax column, sum of tax amount, and sum of total cost. Very straightforward. After some massaging, I'm going to rename some columns, filter out blank cost centers. This is cost that was not allocated to a particular tag, maybe because it was not tagged, or maybe it was one of the resources that didn't support tags. And that's the result. If you are like me, then you also want to color things. So mid-sized company, Joe has been doing it for some time. And ultimately, he's now an owner, a CEO of a big enterprise. And as an owner of an enterprise, he has stakeholders to please, shareholders to please. He has the board. He has his CFO. So he really wants to drill down into his cost. He wants to understand exactly how his cost is structured and where there are opportunities to save cost. And that's the most interesting question for us to respond to is how much each resource costs. And that's where the most detailed report that we produce today, the detailed billing report with resources and tags, can help. It's the same CSV format. It's by resource, means it's not aggregated. Each resource that you run on AWS produces 720 or 744 records on the report at least. For some of our biggest customers, this report is 3.5 gig compressed. It's hourly granularity, it has tags, and it has lots and lots of data. Remember the detailed billing report, the one with hourly granularity? Well, that was the most detailed report so far. And the report with resources and tags adds resources and tags. A resource ID is what AWS assigns to your resource, and tags is what you assign to your resource to get insight into your cost. Considerations. Once again, lots of data. It's not easily consumable by an Excel. Power Pivot might not be able to ingest it either. use it to put it in your data warehouse. Any change in rates, for example, AWS lowers the cost, or you buy reserved instances, or something else happens to rates, produces even more data, 720 or 744 more line items. It's a huge report. So to recap, we looked at two groups of reports. We have two basic reports for you, monthly report and detailed billing report. And we have two advanced reports, cost allocation report and detailed billing report with resources and tags. These are some resources that you might want to check out to get more insight into how your bill is organized, generated, and delivered to your S3 bucket. The first one is the talk from reInvent last year. The second one is our billing FAQ, and the last one is billing documentation. And please make sure to submit feedback.